Hello everyone, this is ACHAIA Akaya bringing you another shoutcast of the StarCraft 2 beta. This is a game that was actually played as part of the Zotac Cup series, which this is Cup series number 6, I believe. And we are starting in the round of 8 here. This is a game between Goody and LiquidNazgul. Now, I have seen some VODs from LiquidNazgul before, and he is actually a pretty good player, so I'm excited to see what happens here. I have heard of Goody before, but have not seen a whole lot of his games, so I'm not sure exactly what to expect here, although it does look like they had to pause the game for a second there because of some lag, although it is back on now, so we are going to see a Protoss versus Protoss in this map, of course, on Desert Oasis, and this is a 1v1 map, so although it is a fairly large map, both players are aware of where the other is spawning, as usual, and you will notice that the rush distance between the two bases is very long. If you have not seen this map before, there's basically one ramp into your base, and the ramp leads to the back side of the map on both occasions, so there is no direct route to get to your opponent other than by air. So if you're going by ground, you're going to have to walk all the way around the outside of the map. So a lot of distance covered to get to each other. That makes fast expansions on this map a little bit more viable because you have more time to set up defense and everything. And that also makes proxy strategies a lot less potent because it's much more difficult to defend both your base and try to proxy at the same time. So if something happens with the proxy, you're basically screwed because you can't get back to defend with the units you do have. And of course your proxy buildings are so far away that as you build units, they are having to cover a lot of ground to get to your base. Anyways, both players going pretty much identical at this point. One pylon, one gateway, and actually there is a slight variation so far. It looks like Goody has gone for an extra pylon before throwing down his assimilator, and still no additional pylon for LiquidNazgul yet. So we will possibly be seeing a little bit more of a tech-heavy build from LiquidNazgul, and I believe both players are selecting their race going into this, so both players should be aware of each other's race going in, although at this point it doesn't matter because Goody, of course, scouting LiquidNazgul, so both players at this point, even if they weren't aware before, are now aware of each other's races. And just to let you know, too, I was planning on broadcasting, or shoutcasting rather, every game from the round of 8 all the way up until the championship game. Unfortunately, I do not have, in the replay pack that I got, I do not have every game from the round of 8 on, so I will be broadcasting all the games that I do have in this replay pack. But just to let you know, there may be some games that are missing because I did not get those in the replay pack. So just to let you know, and it looks like Goody has opted to steal one of LiquidNazgul's gases with his own assimilator here, and it looks like that may actually be pretty effective since, of course, early cybernetics core, and we noticed earlier that because of the early gas and the early cybernetics core and the late pylon, that he was going a little bit more of a tech-heavy build as opposed to Goody. Although Goody does have two assimilators of his own going now, so they actually have evened their tech patterns out a little bit. They pretty much have the same amount of tech at this point. Only one probe difference between the two players as well, and it looks like LiquidNazgul throwing down an early expansion. So he is definitely going to switch up a little bit, going more towards an econ build at this point because he was unable to get this secondary gas up. So knowing that that secondary gas is not available, at least until his Zealot can take it down, has forced him to a little bit more of an economic build. And it looks like Goody is going to spot this pretty much straight away. The Nexus not even halfway warped in yet before Goody spots it, and he is going to put a proxy pylon down here, which we can look to see some warp gate technology very, very soon. Of course, it's about 3/4 of the way done now, and as soon as that warp gate technology comes in, all three of these gateways are going to be warped into warp gates, and then of course with the pylon power that he has down here with the proxy pylon, he will be able to warp units directly into his enemy's base, or at least directly outside of his enemy's base to harass, and especially with this expansion going down right now, he will be able to get forces at it very quickly. And it looks like some more gateways going down in a robotics facility as well for LiquidNazgul, and finally getting that second assimilator up, which is going to be a huge thing for him, although he is behind in gas at this point, so he's going to need to make up for it with this expansion. And it looks like there are units starting to warp in already, a couple stalkers, and Goody has already started sending down the units that he had previously, which consisted of a Zealot and a Sentry. So another Sentry coming in here, of course Force Field and Guardian Shield, two very, very powerful abilities for the Sentry, and he is immediately going to start harassing this probe line, taking one probe down already, and there is not much to defend against this right now, just a couple Sentries and a couple Zealots, which this army from Goody should be able to take care of relatively easily, especially with more reinforcements streaming in from that warp in. and it looks like he is going to move out with the help of some probes and try to take this on. A couple of force fields going down, although not a whole lot of movement from either player at this point. And it looks like they are going to be able to take down this defending army. Another sentry coming in here right now, and both players fighting it out over this expansion, although it looks like Goody is going to take this fight, and that Nexus is going to be focus fired down unless he can get in here quickly. And it doesn't... Oh, just barely manages to save it right now. Is this going to be enough? And an Immortal coming out already. This Immortal may be crucial in holding this expansion, already doing a huge amount of damage to this ranged army. Immortal's just so powerful against pretty much every unit at this point. They are weaker against light units, and it looks like those shields have been taken down for an Immortal finally, so he needs to get that Immortal away before they can manage to fire it down and let its shields regenerate. A Sentry going to be focus firing down this Zealot before it can do any more damage to this Immortal, and a couple more Zealots and a Stalker, and it looks like they are finally going to be able to take this extra Nexus down. In the upper right hand corner, you'll see Goody is putting down an expansion of his own now that he's been able to apply some pressure, and he's gained a little bit of a lead by taking out the expansion of his opponent, LiquidNazgul. LiquidNazgul, meanwhile, in his base is warping in a Warp Prism, so we could see him creating a mobile pylon field over the cliff of his enemy's base to create some warping units rather quickly, and another Immortal joining the fight here. So a lot of firepower coming from these Immortals. These Immortals, their hardened shields not only allow them to take an extreme amount of damage from enemy units, but also they have a huge amount of attack, and it looks like he's actually going to be using this Warp Prism as a shuttle rather than a mobile pylon field, so he's going to try to do a little bit of harassment with this Warp Prism by dropping off these two Immortals into his enemy's base. And of course a robotics facility going down for Goody now as well, although I don't think he has anything in his main base to deal with this right now. Fortunately, he does have the Warp Gate technology, although it looks like it is on cooldown right now. He does have a couple sentries here too, but that's not going to be enough to deal with these two Immortals. And these two Immortals now just laying waste to the mineral line of Goody right now, doing a lot of damage and taking out these sentries that are defending at this point too. These sentries proving to be no match for these two Immortals, and now a Stalker trying to join the fray as well. Of course, that is not going to be enough firepower either, although this Immortal has no more shields, so he needs to be careful about getting involved too much into this fight. And it looks like he is going to try to focus fire down this Nexus a little bit before picking up and taking off. And these Stalkers just barely not going to... Oh, are they going to get... No. 14 hit points. One or two more shots from those Stalkers would have taken that down. And it looks like Goody has been forced to move his probes out to his expansion, although he is going to be moving them back into his main base again. And it looks like LiquidNazgul does have an observer over the expansion of his enemy, so he is aware of how much defense is out there at any given point in time. And he is now turning this into a mobile pylon field, going to be warping in some more units just outside of Goody's base. And he has not yet taken down one of Goody's expansions, and he has not built another one of his own, so at this point he could be in a rough spot economically if he does not expand here soon. He could fall behind on the income here very quickly, and as you can see already, there is somewhat of a discrepancy there. You got about a 300 mineral income discrepancy between the two players at this point because of the effective expansion that Goody has been mining for a little bit now in the upper right hand corner, and starting to get gas from that expansion as well, which is going to be very helpful for getting out just these Immortals and the Stalkers, and of course the Sentries also very heavy on gas and also very important. And it looks like there's going to be another battle, and throwing down some great force fields, blocking the reinforcements from LiquidNazgul right now, and it looks like he's able to effectively cut that army in half and manages to take out the front half. And I don't think that LiquidNazgul has enough forces to deal with this Protoss army that he is facing off against at this point. Although he does have two Immortals, which is very, very important. Manages to take down the Immortal of Goody, but then is going to have to back off with his remaining two Immortals because they are both out of shields. But it looks like he loses them anyways. And he does have one more Immortal and a couple sentries sitting back a little bit further away, but at this point he needs to back off and regroup a little bit because he is going to be overwhelmed by this army if he tries to push into it too much more. He was able to take out the Immortals though, which are the heavy hitters in that army, so as long as he is able to make something happen with the Immortal that he does have, then he should be alright. And it looks like he is starting up his extra expansion now, although Goody of course moving down and around here. I don't think he's aware that he's building it yet, no, but of course very good gamer sense from Goody, as he has made it this far into the tournament, so obviously he has an idea of what he's doing, but of course he has a sense that he needs to check this base again, and getting down to this expansion and going to manage to take it out before it's even halfway warped in, and it looks like